Well, good evening and welcome to About the Valley and recognize the
It's our drill hall.
Yeah,
there's
it
the
is.
drill
Yeah,
hall,
and
yeah.
that looks like
Stand
pancake
up.
breakfast? No, it must be pancake breakfast.
Yep, pancake breakfast.
Yep.
We got three people here from Veterans Incorporated, and you guys are doing a fantastic job, a
Thank you.
very necessary job.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And, we didn't have that for many a times when guys came back. Even World War II, you said, well, they came back, they had parades and everything, but a lot of guys suffered,
Yeah, still suffering.
still suffering, yeah.
Yep.
Did you ever see the movie, not the way we were, Never the Same Again, I think it's called?
I've never
No, I
seen
haven't.
It was about three guys came back from World War II, and they end up meeting on the way back, and they served in different branches. One of them was in the Navy, and lost his hands in a fire.
Oh,
And the actual he was the actual veteran. He was the one who started the movie.
Oh wow.
So and it was about how they had such a hard time adjusting.
yeah.
He came back. His girlfriend who he left wanted to get married. He didn't want to get married because he felt he wasn't the same person anymore. And and we're talking. This was filmed in the mid 40s. Well, a little after the mid 40s, after World War II. So I mean, it hasn't changed.
It's pretty tough for
Yeah.
people returning from the
And
military.
these services weren't there.
Yeah. Well, thankfully now Veterans Inc. is there, and we're going on 30 years. of
30
being there.
years.
30 years of being there for our veterans. Yep.
Yeah. Well, what was it this year that the first Gulf War was 30 years ago?
It should be this. I think it started in 1990, the Gulf War.
Yeah.
It's about as old as I am. I'll be 30 in a couple weeks, so yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I think I
Agency's
just
been
saw.
around just as long as
I
I've been
saw
on the ground.
something on Facebook about nobody's mentioning the fact that it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, it goes by fast.
Wow.
I know it was in August, but
Yeah.
the war didn't start until around this time.
Believe it.
The invasion by Saddam into Kuwait was in August,
Mm.
but by the time the buildup came, they actually took place, and it didn't last long,
No, yeah, it was a pretty
Yeah.
quick thing.
but that took place in January,
Wow.
so it's 30
Long
years.
time.
Wow, you see how time flies?
It does. It
Quick.
The
does.
older you get, the faster it
It
goes.
does go fast.
That's a good point.
Oh, that's scary.
But Mike is here tonight. You weren't here before,
No, I was not.
but Mike is here because Erin thought he should be here because you handle people with opioid problems.
We handle people with all use disorders.
All use, but opioids, it seems to be the biggest thing now, right?
It is one of the most dangerous, but we have, up at Independence Hall, we are a 22-acre facility. It's set off in the
Can
woods.
we put that picture on Independence Hall, the big building? Which let people see what it looks like.
Yeah, we're very,
It's
very proud of it.
beautiful.
It's a
Yeah,
beautiful
isn't it?
complex.
Mm-hmm.
And I am the clinical manager of the CSS, which is a crisis stabilization. We're very, very proud of it. We have a location where men who need help, they need to stabilize. Once they're medically cleared, we can have them there for up to almost a month, where they're in a safe location, they're getting their medication, they're having classes every day. We're really working with cognitive behavioral therapy, helping guys deal with, that's our
Very
beautiful
good.
building in our yard, where they can have their time to themselves, to sit, purge all the chemicals out of their system, get started on some medical assisted treatment, some masks, with whatever we need to get them there, and really give them time to develop an insight into what's driving their addiction.
Where are you located?
We're right up on 59 South Street in Shrewsbury. It's a nice
Oh.
long driveway. It's a beautiful, you can barely see it from the road.
Isn't that by
It sits way
St.
back.
John's up in that area?
Yeah, it's St. John's is more down, but depending on which direction you're coming from, usually I pass St. John's on my way up.
It's
South
coming
Street.
from Worcester, you
Yeah,
pass St. John's.
exactly. It's by that, there's like a country bank, I think, at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Southgate used to be the old Cavalry Retreat Center.
Oh,
Exactly.
And I
okay.
think if you've ever been to any retreat center and you walk in there, it still has that feel to it. It's
Yes.
a very calming feel.
Yes.
You walk in, the first thing you're greeted by a wonderful, warm receptionist. It doesn't have an institutional feeling at all.
And did people just walk in off the street, or you actually go out and, you might say recruit them?
Well, you could apply online,
Uh-huh,
and because we have to make sure people are medically cleared. There are
Right.
some dangerous withdrawals, so we have to make sure medically they're safe.
Yeah.
And all of our veterans prioritize, because we do have civilians that come in too, and it's a really a good mix.
oh, okay, so you don't just do veterans, you do,
We do both.
Non-veterans as well.
Non-veterans also, and it's a very good mix, because a lot of our non-veterans are family members of veterans also. So it's a very good mix, because they're together all day. They're
Yeah.
there, they don't leave our building. They're in there, and they're in a constant cycle of treatment. So it's a very good, safe environment, pleasant, and it's a
Yes.
place where they can really start to get a handle on themselves,
Yeah.
what's driving this addiction. We're very proud of our staff, all trained therapists, and we have doctors on board, so they do some real good, we do some good work over there.
but everyone coming in there is looking for help.
Absolutely, it's not a mandated treatment.
Right.
People are there voluntarily. We're not gonna lock the doors,
Yeah,
but I'm very happy to say, well, over 95% of our people stay as long as they can. And we make sure they have an aftercare plan, so nobody walks out of there without something that's gonna
yeah,
carry them
because they'll be
through.
right back.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah, the follow-up is important.
absolutely.
That's why we have an IOP service for the follow-up, the intensive outpatient, so they get able to attend groups after their program finished. They're able to come and do groups with our outpatient, and most guys see the benefit in it. Sometimes you don't know you need help until it's in your face or you
Right.
experience it for a second.
Yeah,
You might
yeah.
fight it for a few days, and after a few days, you realize the type of environment you're in. You're getting fed well, you're getting treated well, you're in a nice place, as they mentioned. So sometimes it takes a couple of days to kind of break that barrier within yourself to understand these people are really here to help me. They come into work every day to help me, and just accepting that help is a kind of important step in your recovery.
Now, in some cases, these guys are actually, well, some women too, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially, today we have men and women both together out there in combat.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in, I didn't see any women for I don't know how long. But now, I mean, you're side by side
Yes.
in combat situations. But some of them actually, are they out working in the every day on at regular jobs and everything? Because they can be addicted and still work.
When they're in our program, in the crisis stabilization, they're not working.
Right.
They're staying there. They're
But
sleeping.
some of them come in, do they have jobs and then they realize they gotta do something?
The majority of people we see when they're coming in, they're to the point with their addiction where they really can't function.
So they really need to do
They
something.
need the help. They need to be safe. They need to be stabilized.
Yeah,
And then you see them progress through the weeks. I've worked a lot of different modalities of treatment, and I'll tell you, this is probably one of the most refreshing for me, because as you see, the chemicals have to clear out of the head.
yeah,
The dopamine levels have to start coming back up again, and you see men and women clearing up. We do a lot of group work. They come in and they really can't think through their thought patterns, and by the end, they're thinking clearly. They're journaling. They're eating, we call it recovery weight. They start putting some weight back on their bones, and they're eager to get back out there, reconnect with their families. We make sure they connect with their families. They make phone calls home, so they have that, building that support network. And it's
Right,
really important.
most important.
Most important, absolutely.
But you work as a group so that you can help, people support one another, right?
Absolutely. Even inside, it's all group therapy.
Yeah,
A lot of times our clients and our patients, they learn from each other just as much as they learn from us, because addiction is isolative. We call it addiction constriction. The deeper you get into your addiction, the more isolated you become until you're right at the bottom of the cave where there's nothing, no hope.
right.
A lot of, sometimes even suicidal ideation. And as we're climbing out of that hole in treatment, we're starting to see people brighten up, get hope again.
Yeah, I would think, when you get to that point, suicide comes about because you feel you're alone in the world.
Absolutely.
You can be surrounded by people, but you still feel alone.
You only have one friend.
Yeah,
You know who that is?
yourself. Or your
bo-
drugs.
Your drug.
Your drugs, yeah.
You and your drug. You're all
That's
by
the only thing that
yourself.
makes me feel good.
Feel numb.
Yeah. And it's a sad situation that, I myself, I don't even drink anymore because I don't want anything that controls anything I do other than my own thoughts. I want total control at all times.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And here again, when you're in that situation, you have no control.
There's chemical changes within the body,
Yeah,
and we need time to flush the brain. We need the time for the neurons to start firing properly again, nourish the body. It takes time, and that's what we're giving them.
now, do you find that some guys are still in the military, women, I should say, well, guys, I mean, generically, that they're still in the military and this happens?
Most of the people we're seeing either have been discharged, they've done their time, and
That's when it comes about?
some start while they're in, but
Yeah.
a lot of them do. Can't forget how many injuries we're suffering. Real
Well, they're
traumatic
discharged,
injury.
yeah, you're forced into retirement,
Yes.
because now if you're injured, they call it retirement,
You're medically retired.
Yep.
medical retirement. Which is good because you get something, you're gonna get some payment, so you can exist. You may not be able to work at a regular job, if you can work at all in some cases. But, yeah, I was gonna say, because now, as a part of it, they lost that support, because when you're in, you got that camaraderie, you got that support.
Right.
It's like a big family.
Right.
And especially today, because you and I were talking earlier, when I was in, you were drafted, you made your obligation, you were gone for 2 years and you're out, you get, hey, I'm out of here. You see, we used to joke about the fact, I'm gonna be promoted, I'll be promoted to civilian.
That's still a running joke. That's still a running joke. It's probably top 3 jokes still.
But, the thing is, you're only there to meet your obligation and get out. And
Yeah.
if people volunteer, they really wanna serve.
Mm-hmm.
They wanna do their time, they're looking, in some cases, yeah, they might be looking to get some benefits out of it, education-wise, maybe get some training. But still, it's a different camaraderie, you wanna be there. You're not with a lot of people, God, I hate being here, I just wanna get out of here, they don't have that, so it's a lot different. And when you're discharged, that's gone, and it's gone quick,
It feels fast because there's nobody waking you up in the morning anymore.
right?
There's no formation that you need to be at where you're gonna just be forced to be around all these people.
Yeah,
Kind of make you think differently. And if you don't, you mentioned earlier that support system being the most important thing. If you come home and you don't have that support system,
right,
things start falling apart. You don't have nobody to guide you. The simplest thing of going to the DMV to get your ID seems like an insurmountable task, and that's what leads. And as you mentioned earlier, do you see it with guys that are in? And in my experience, when I was in the military, yeah, a lot of guys were abusing alcohol,
right.
or got injured and got prescribed something, and that just became their way to cope with it. It affected their marriages, and then once they get out, it has a more severe effect. And when they end up on their own or end up on the street, that's where we would come into play, and hopefully we were able to give them that hand up, provide them with treatment, and once they're done with treatment and able to sustain themselves mentally, then they can get into one of our programs at Veterans Inc., and then we can work on getting them housing, a job, some training, and having them really see their star potential, because all of them do. They're all special people, just like everybody else in the world, and our job is to help them see how special they are and have them realize it.
Yeah, you mentioned marriage, and the strain that's gotta be on a marriage when you're gone, and then, you come back and you're home for 6 months and they ship you back again.
Yeah,
I mean, that's horrible,
kids don't know you.
right?
It's tough.
I mean, during Vietnam, well, World War II, you went away into a duration, but you knew that. Here, you don't know how long you're going or when you're going, or how they activate you. During Vietnam, you did your year and you were all set. You can come home, and if you stayed in, sometimes you could go back, but in a lot of cases, went back voluntarily.
Hmm.
Now, like I say, you're back there before you know it. And I know there's a lot of suicides in the military because of that.
Yeah, you don't find proper ways to cope, proper ways to deal with your problems,
Yeah,
or you just got back, and in the midst of you trying to deal with your problems or find a way to deal with it, you're still already working to go right back. Spent
Yeah.
a few months home, and you're tackling trying to get to know your kids, get to know your wife a little bit more, find out what you missed, and then it comes down the pipeline that you got to ship out again.
yeah,
And now that cycle starts all over again. It starts to defeat you a little bit, and I've seen a lot of guys struggle with it. Some of them have balance, but it all comes down. You said the support system. how strong is your wife. Military spouses, I don't think get enough credit.
Oh my God. I
They
mean,
have to deal with it in such a high level. They're, especially the wives that are home, they're dealing with the kids,
Yeah,
or
they-
even the fathers that are home with their wives and, like you said,
Yeah.
women in the military.
You're handed all the responsibilities now. You can't share one anymore. You've got it on your own.
Yeah, you almost become a single parent at that
Yeah.
point until the other person comes back. They're there financially, but as you know, raising kids is much more than a financial burden.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time spent nourishing and teaching and taking care of that involves more than just sending a paycheck. So.
Yeah, and you know, with this ongoing wars, it's not ending. It just seems like forever.
Nope, it's not gonna end.
And if I can, with the support system, you know what we really see with our veterans, especially when they're intermixing with the non-veterans? They come in and they're so lonely. And they've lost their Army, Navy, Marine, Coast Guard friends. Then they come home and they lose their family to their drink or drug. Now
Yeah.
they're even more lonely. And then you see them in the group process. And they start befriending people in the room that they can affiliate with, they can assimilate with, because they've suffered this as addiction too. And pretty soon, just like in basic, you know, we went through basic, we went through AIT, we start to see them forming together to fight a new battle,
Yes.
their addiction.
Right.
And it's so
Right.
uplifting to see this, because you're like, they're regaining that sense of togetherness that they feel they lost.
Yeah, and it's always good when you can relate to someone.
Yes.
You know how they feel. They know how you feel.
And you're suffering with the common enemy,
Yes.
the addiction.
Yes.
And that's when you know now we're really moving ahead. Now we're making ground.
What's the availability of this stuff for them? Is it really readily available?
Yes.
That's a big problem too, isn't it?
Yes, it's everywhere.
Now, we're talking opioids. I know there's doctors that pass them out like candy.
Yeah.
It probably shouldn't be, but they do. And you got people that do it illegally, and I mean, the drug companies are putting this stuff out. I think they're starting to go after them, and things are being done about it, but we got a long way to go.
We have a
And
long
then
way
you
to
got the
go.
illegal stuff.
We have a long way to go, but if we're going to be honest, if someone wants to get something, they will find it in any city.
Well, it's always the case.
You're always going to find it. So the only thing we can change is people's concept of what they should and
Right.
shouldn't do.
It's like the controversy with gun laws. They say, "Oh, we ban the guns." Well, they're gonna make it till you find them. If people want to get one, they'll find it.
Yeah.
If they want drugs, they're gonna find it, no matter how much you ban it.
Absolutely.
Right.
We got a call in. Yeah. Go ahead, Carl. You're on.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Hello? Hello, I'd like to start off by thanking you, Harry, and your guests and everything that they do for veterans. And the
great
movie
job,
you were
man.
thinking about, Harry, is called The Best Years of Our Lives, and that was
That's what it was.
Oh,
The
yeah.
best years of our lives. I
19.6.
couldn't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
and that like I said, it played on returning veterans, especially World War II veterans. So
Yeah.
if anybody, like I said, that has works with veterans, that a lot of those things still hold true today. And what's really complex about a lot of the things that your guests are bringing up is, for example, I'm a Vietnam era veteran like you, Harry, and when I was wounded, I got several pints or quarts of morphine and Demerol, and you have to deal a lot with your pain, and I have to still thank the Army nurses today for saving my life. But, so this is a very complex issue with addiction, because you have so many issues with pain, and especially combat wounds, shrapnel or TBI,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
TBI,
shrapnel
which
can
they're now
be there
starting to
for
finally
years.
get a grasp on, is that the nerve pain is so unpredictable.
Yep.
And so you start, getting into, traditionally the painkillers and everything else that the veterans were treated for this, and then that leads to like some of the issues that that the gentleman said, VA require drug testing, and then some of these, if you're on painkillers or whatnot, but even by the VA, that comes up in the drug test, and that's something that the veteran has to explain, and then sometimes not all employers are sympathetic to that, and so it's quite a enhancement of issues that veterans are dealing with. I know the VA is trying to deal with some alternative things such as acupuncture, chiropractic care, deep tissue massage, and yoga, but those are just some supplemental things that can help veterans. But there's still, like I said, unknowns with all these pain issues, and where opioids still have to be prescribed, but they have to be fully monitored. And the thing about wars is that when our government goes into wars, they authorize all this money for the war, but they don't really authorize enough money to deal with veterans when they come back after the war.
Yes,
And
good point.
so I mean that's another issue with it. It's glad that there's programs like this and to help veterans, and but I'm glad that you're focusing on this, and that hopefully that they'll be coming out with more things for veterans, and it's definitely a learning experience, and it is a very complex issue. And I thank you for having them on, and I thank them for doing their support to veterans, and I think that's about all I have to say, and I'll let somebody else call in, and thank you, Harry.
Okay,
Thank you for your
Ben.
service.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people ought to take a ride to Grove Street and visit your facilities.
Please.
Amazing what you've done there, and of course, it's the old armor units, armory.
It
Was
is.
it the first at 22nd or something?
The 181?
181 was infantry.
Yeah, that's,
I was in 181.
Oh,
I got out of the regular army, I went in the guard. That's how much I liked it.
I was 181
I didn't like to
myself.
travel, I liked staying home, and in fact, when I was in a guard, you only went away for 2 weeks.
mhm.
Today, these guys go away for a
They
year
go.
at a time.
Yeah, they deploy.
Yeah, it's a it's
When
a
I was
whole
in
different
Iraq,
ballgame.
The main division that replaced Big Red 1, which is 1st Infantry Division, was the Texas National Guard. There's such a big National Guard division. When they deploy, they actually take over and become such a
Yeah.
large entity. Other units kind of fall underneath them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
of course, the guard is highly trained now than they used to be.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you really you're a part-time professional soldier.
Yeah. You're a weekend warrior, but everybody does their part
Yeah,
and adds to it.
it's
and fights
extreme
the good fight.
training.
Absolutely.
We were kind of a backup back then, but now not any longer.
No, now they have their own place in rotation.
So it's here again. There's another group now that's subject to the same situations.
Same
And
problem.
here again, back when I was in a guard, if you were activated, it was activated as a unit. Now you're being activated individually. So you might go in and then you go into a new unit. You don't even know anybody. So it makes it tough. A lot of things you have to overcome. But yeah, like I say, you've done a great job with that armory. I mean,
It's a beautiful, and we've restored it with a lot of help from a lot of organizations and individuals. Lots of volunteer work went into restoring that.
didn't look like that when I used to go there.
No, and that's when it's at for our pancake breakfast. So every Veterans Day, we have a pancake breakfast. It's free. So this November, everybody
Yep.
should plan on coming in. Have a great time. We also will host this year is our military ball will be hosted there too.
Or gala.
Our gala,
Ah.
gala military ball.
Every 2 years we do the gala.
Yeah.
It's a big production.
It's-
I think the guard
Sounds
used to
fun.
put on a military ball there, I believe.
They probably did before I was there, but.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, this year we do one every other year, so it's
That's a job and a half. put
that's
together.
quite an
Oh, it's-
undertaking to
yeah.
do it right in our own location. But there's nothing like it. There's a lot of galas out there, but there's nothing like the Veterans Inc. Military Gala
Is
Ball.
that a big part of your fundraising?
It's a huge part of it. In fact, that will be our biggest fundraiser of the year. We do it every other year because it takes so much to put it together.
Yeah, that's another thing. You don't get any government funds, do you?
We do.
Oh, you do?
Yes, we do. We
But,
do.
Of course, not enough to survive.
No.
No,
No.
the government funds are specific, so you use it for what the government tells you to use it for.
Oh, okay.
All additional costs, things that come up, we use our donations, our discretionary funds, and we're grateful for our donors because they help us sustain ourselves.
You find a lot of businesses donate?
We are so lucky to have such support from our community. We couldn't do it. We couldn't do what we do without the support that we get.
Right.
Even with the funding that we do receive, it is not nearly enough. So we're always looking for organizations to support us. In fact, just as we were coming in, Dan and I were speaking about his new program that we spoke about the last time we were here, about a couple of businesses that are potentially getting on board with that. To help us with our veterans, make sure I get the title right. Veterans Housing Rehabilitation and Modification Program.
There you go.
That sounds military.
Yeah. So we shorten it up. It's Veterans Inc.'s home repair program. Makes it a little easier. The emails, homerepairs@veteransinc.org. So it's starting to kick into a new gear. A lot of work was put in to kind of build the program up. We've got a lot of clients in the pipeline. Some are further in the stages than others. I'm hoping to start work on a very first project in the next couple of weeks. So I'm very excited. I think now, as we do the work, we're trying to get as she mentioned, the organizations, the contractors that are willing to partner with us. They're paid jobs. You're going to get paid for the job.
Yeah.
But your contribution and what you can do for us at Veterans Inc., that gratitude will go far.
Right, so as you're looking for contractors that'll donate some of the time,
Absolutely.
as well as you'll pay them as well.
Absolutely, and that goes into the whole deal because
Right.
it's a win-win. The contractors are able to get some notoriety for their business,
Yeah.
as well as just doing a good thing. You're going to help out a low-income veteran and allow them to live independently in their homes, remain in their communities. It's almost so easy to sell because who doesn't want to take
Now,
part
you're
in something so
primarily taking care
special?
of low-income veterans?
Low-income disabled veterans is the criteria for our program. That's our basic eligibility model.
Because there are organizations out there like Tunnels to Towers and
Mhm.
Yep.
Poles of Honor, that they actually build houses
Yep.
for disabled veterans, which is great because, I mean, in prior wars, they didn't have that.
Absolutely.
And like Carla said, the government really doesn't do enough.
There's always more that we can do, and that's at Veterans Inc., which we started as just a shelter, and that's all we were. And now we just keep evolving and growing into what else can we do? How else can we prevent veterans from becoming homeless? How else can we improve their lives? And that's this is one of our newest, in fact, it is our newest
Our
program.
newest program.
To come out so that veterans, we help them in our addiction treatment programs and our supportive services and our employment and training, but how do you help them when they want to be at their own house? And
Well, yeah, everybody
that's-
wants to have their own place.
That's
Yeah, you
our-
bought the house for a good price in the
Yeah.
70s, 80s when you got out the military. You're retired now, you're on a fixed income, so now you're low income.
Yeah.
You've gone through a disability or two. The last thing you want to do is leave your community and
Yeah.
all the neighbors that you've grown and come to see over time, and now you have to move into some high rise because you can't afford to do the repairs in your home that would keep you there,
Right.
or you can't get a wheelchair ramp, so you're no longer to get into your home.
Yeah.
Your bathroom is not equipped the right way. You don't have the right grab bars, or it's too high. You have an old clawfoot tub.
Yeah,
So
even
those
some-
things that stop you from
Some
living in your
small
house.
things that aren't that costly, but you just can't.
Exactly, widening doorways. Now you're in a wheelchair. Can't get
Yeah.
around your home. We'll widen your doorways. We'll remove some thresholds. The goal is to keep these veterans as independent living as possible. If we can't make them as independent, we make other modifications that will allow a caretaker to live with them more freely and become more independent, or have somebody that can be there for them. But the goal is to keep them in their communities. Veterans are an important part of their communities, and we want to
Right.
make sure they can continue to make that impact.
Yeah, and we got a really aging veteran population now. The World War II veterans are just about gone.
Yep.
World War I are gone.
Yeah.
yeah,
I remember those guys in there, but now you got the elderly are Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, time is flying by.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you're gonna have the Gulf War veterans.
Yeah, pretty soon it'll go into a lot of peacetime. In
Yeah.
the late 70s, 80s, But you had guys going to Grenada and all these different
Yeah,
places in
I
those
mean,
times.
We have never stopped having wars in some sort. But even if it's not a war, if it's total peacetime, it's a dangerous job. I mean, you hear of guys getting killed, a helicopter crash not too long ago in a training mission.
Yeah, even in peacetime operations,
Yes.
there's always a risk. We're America, we're this great superpower. So, that puts a little bit of a target on you.
Yeah.
So no matter how much good we're doing in the world, there's always a risk. So the brave men and women that, that fight our battles are in our military system. Every day is, a tough day. But they kind of make it look easy, so
I
it's a
say,
good
I mean,
thing.
the training, when you go through some of this training is very dangerous.
Absolutely.
So, and I know military takes all the steps they can for safety, but sometimes it just happens.
Yeah, guys still
It
get hurt.
happens.
It happens.
Yeah,
That's why you go through training, and when you're training, you train as you fight. You take it as serious when you're training, so when the real deal happens, you're that much more equipped, you're that much more ready.
well, that makes a difference on surviving, because when a real thing happens, you just automatically react because you had good training. That's what training is about. So it's very important. But I want to give you a chance. We're meeting the halfway point. Where can people donate to you?
Best way is to go through our website, veteransinc.org. We've got our phone number. We have an 800 number, 800-482-2565. Stop in at Grove Street. 69 Grove Street, that armory is always open.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
open 24 hours a day.
Yeah, we get donations in the mail, so if you're inclined or you're too far, you want to mail something to 69 Grove Street, Worcester, Mass.
Yeah.
01605. We'll be happy to accept all donations.
But they can do the new thing now. Everybody does everything on the net now.
Everything's
Yeah.
If they go to your
online.
Veterans Inc. website,
Yep.
is a
So
place
it's
for
all there.
donation.
Yep, how you can help. And there's also the section that shows our services, but also our events. And we have a lot of events coming up
And
this year.
does it tell you how you take volunteers, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we do information sessions, so someone could come in and I think, I have to double check the website, but I think there's one coming up on the 21st. I'll double check.
I think it's this month, though.
Yeah, pretty sure it's the 21st. Have an information session, learn all about the different ways that you can help. One of the main ways that people like to help is in our kitchen, actually serving. But we
Yep.
need drivers. We need people to help at events. We need people to do some help with, what do we do?
Administrative
Tutoring,
tasks,
yeah,
tutoring.
tutoring. That word just was not coming out. Tutoring.
There's a lot of people, especially retirees, that want to do something, be busy.
And that's what we have a lot of.
All
You get a
kinds
lot
of
of those
ways.
retirees that are just have some time in their hands, but volunteers are an important part of how we operate.
Yeah.
Without the volunteers, there'd be a big gap in our agency.
Yeah.
And we like to show them the most gratitude because sometimes they just get the day going, and they're the ones putting smiles on the veterans' faces.
Yep.
Staff members that's your job too. You want to make sure you make everybody happy, but you have a job, you have to case manage. Sometimes talking to somebody that's not necessarily working there, sometimes a veteran will feel more comfortable. They get a different feel for it. So it's good to see people that want to, give back and want to serve and serve the people who served us.
Well, I imagine, the veteran can feel, this guy, this is a great, what a great person. They're here for free.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving up their time for me. It
Absolutely.
makes a heck of an impression.
It lets them know how special they really are.
Yeah.
And that starts the process. I'm sure that they start at CSS is making sure these veterans or the civilians just understand how special you are. You're a human being.
Yes.
You're a special kind of species. And once you realize that, you're able to live and love yourself a little bit more and get through your addiction, get through your recovery, or get out of homelessness, get a job, see your worth a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, today it's quite common to hear people say, I hear it all the time, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
And I always say, don't thank me, they took me kicking. But the thing is, it's good that people are recognizing that these veterans did something good
Yes.
Right.
for their country, and they did serve. And whether you agree with the war, or you agree or you don't agree, that's irrelevant. I mean, you didn't do it because number one, nobody goes in the military just to kill people. That's a dumbest
Yeah.
thing in the world. I hate people say that.
And it would take so long for you to get to that point. If you get to that point, it's still
Right.
a chance. It's not a guaranteed thing that's gonna happen.
Right.
You get in and you realize all the other aspects that are involved. Like for me, it helped me build as a man. You learn
Yeah.
order, you learn respect, and you get all those things. So when you get out, you know how to conduct yourself a little bit better in society than maybe when you went in as a young adult and thinking you know everything
Yeah.
and realize you don't know anything, and you start to learn a little bit
Oh
more.
yeah, I got drafted. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Changed my whole life. But you know, we meet Veterans Day. We'll go to the high school and meet with some of the kids, a number of veterans in town. And one of the guys says, "I hope they don't ask me how many people I killed." That's not what you're there for.
Right, right.
That's something you might have to do, but you're not doing. You didn't go in to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you talk about saying thank you and volunteers, about those two subjects. Every Thursday on our Facebook page, we do a Thank You Thursday. And we'll put up a thank you as to something that someone in the community has done for us. A lot of times
Yep.
they're donation drives. And you look at that, and some of them, these are little kids that have done donation drives, and they're so heartwarming that they even want to say thank you to our veterans. And come Veterans Day, how many cards we get, and Memorial Day.
Wow.
It's
Well, the parade runs.
beautiful.
It ends right in front of our
So-
building.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're kind of part of the parade process. So the parade
Yeah.
run,
Yeah.
it's like a half a mile, quarter mile, and it ends right in front of our building where they do the ceremonies. Fire trucks will hold up a flag. It's a
Nice.
real special thing. So right after the pancake breakfast, we feed the whole public. You know, I was cooking this year, cooking eggs and sausage. So we feed the public, and then they go outside and they get to enjoy the parade. We have popcorn machines going. We're handing out flags. So we really wanted to be an inviting thing for people to come to and really experience how to celebrate a Veterans Day and how to celebrate a veteran and how to be
Yeah.
involved in your community.
So
Yeah,
it's
Veterans
really
Day
great.
is becoming more celebrating veterans.
Yes.
You know, of course, it started out as Armistice Day
Hmm.
to honor the end of World War I, which was a very brutal war.
Mhm.
But it morphed into what it is, and it's good.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I try to tell people, Memorial Day is to honor the ones that died.
Right.
Veterans Day is to honor the ones that are still with us.
Yeah, we have to always retrain people on that. I
Right.
always get
Yeah.
thank you for your service on Memorial Day. I'm like, well, save that for the guys that went to Valhalla. You know, those are the ones that paid the ultimate sacrifice. This
Those
is
are the
their
real
time.
heroes.
Yeah, this is their time. This is their day.
Yes,
Let's pay homage to them and give them their kudos.
exactly. You know, and that's why we put flags out. You know, somebody said, "Why do you put all those flags?" That's the least you can do.
Absolutely. The least, the very least.
You know, I mean, reefs across America, great thing they do.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, that's very
and we're at the point now, you know, I don't know if you know that they changed the standard now to get into Arlington because it's filling up.
Wow, really?
Yeah, you know, originally I think it was a Purple Heart, and then you had to have a Bronze Star, then it moved up to a Silver Star. And it's going to get to the point where you have to have a Medal of Honor to get buried there because they just have no room.
Wow. Well, that's good that the other communities build veterans memorial cemeteries.
Yeah,
I think there's one in Gardner, if I'm not mistaken.
Winchendon.
Winchendon. That's where my grandfather's buried. So it's good that communities kind of do a thing of their own because, like you said, how much space is there going to be in Arlington, and how far is it for some
Winchendon
families?
was brought about from a man who lived in town here, Ross Rajat. He was a World War II veteran, very active in government. He holds a record for petitions to the state legislature,
Wow.
and he worked hard in getting that cemetery in Winchendon, and he's buried there now,
Oh, wow.
him and his wife both.
Wow.
Because that's, if you're a veteran, your spouse can be buried in a veteran
right.
cemetery as well.
I'll leave you a
And
space.
of course,
for
we
it.
got the Cape as well now,
Mhm.
down in Bourne.
That's good.
But my wife wanted to stay local, so we bought our grave site about 40 years ago
Oh, wow.
in a local cemetery. She
Planning
don't
ahead.
want- I said, "What, you worried about not seeing anyone?" I would have went with the veterans, but you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But now, I'll tell you, I've been up to Winchendon, we just, because, remember American Legion, we've had a couple of burials there. they were also doing cremations,
Mm,
and
okay.
they put you in the wall. They have a building now where,
Wow,
so they're staying up to date,
Mhm.
that's interesting.
which is good because you're running out of land. I think cremations make a good idea too.
Some people
Yes.
prefer that, so you wanna kind of cater to everybody's preference.
Yeah. But we're getting off subject here. That's what we tend to do, but
Well, I can bring it back on subject. We started talking about events, and we kind of went in towards the end of the
Yeah.
year. But to start off the year, our next big next big event is our golf tournament.
is that a green
Thinking
hill?
spring. We're thinking spring already. Thank
Yeah.
goodness. It's May 6th, and it will be at Cyprian Keys.
Where is it?
Cyprian Keys
Is that in
in
Boston?
Boylston.
Boston,
Oh,
Mass.
yes, right off of 140.
Yeah, right when you get off, it's kind of right there.
Yeah,
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
So
beautiful course.
time for people to start thinking spring. They can see can't sign up quite yet, but can start talking about sponsorships for that.
Yeah.
Get the clubs out, put it on your calendar.
Yeah, but when is it? In April or?
May
May,
6th.
yeah.
Yeah.
May
April
6th.
might be still too wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're still one of the earlier ones, so
Yeah.
it's a
No,
great
that's
way to start off the season.
Yeah, I bet
Yeah.
you get a good turnout for that too.
We get a great turnout. Yeah. It sells out every single.
Yeah, we had a couple
Oh.
Patriots players come.
Yeah.
Oil Can.
Old Cam Boyd came last
Yeah,
year.
Oil
Oh,
Can Boyd was there
wow.
last
He
year.
was a
He
riot.
rolled
He was a
around.
riot.
He rode around and
Matthew
golfed.
Slater came.
Devin McCourty
Yeah.
came.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was
You
pretty
see
cool.
good
Steve
celebrities.
So
Burton.
those are good
Yeah,
surprises
Steve
for the
Burton
end.
was
And
Yeah.
if that gets you there, great. But hopefully, what got you there is you wanting to give back to the organization who supports
What's
veterans.
your chance of getting a foursome with one of them?
It all depends.
Oh, we had some of the guys from the Boston Red Sox came. Dan Ray from the Boston
Yeah.
Red Sox.
How do you
the
set up
general
your
manager.
How do you set up your foursomes?
You can when you sign up, you can sign up as a foursome.
Yeah.
Or they kind of just
I'm
just
wondering if you can
match
get in
it.
with a celebrity somehow.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't do that part of it, so I don't know.
You get Tom Brady there, you'd have a ton of people.
That
trying.
would be great.
Yeah,
I'd
we
start
pack the
golfing.
town.
In that case, I'd start golfing.
I guess I'll buy some clubs tomorrow.
Well, you might be able to get Cora there because he'll be free.
He's free already.
Yeah. Okay, well, what else should we talk about?
So that's in May.
That's in May.
And then
this-
We do a lot of Memorial Day events, and we take part in several parades and memorial services, Memorial Day services. We have our stand down, which happens in June. And that will be, I believe it's our 14th annual, might be our 15th annual. I can't remember.
I think it's 15th.
It's our
15th annual.
15th. It's our
15th, number
15th annual
15.
stand down,
Wow.
which will take place at our Grove Street headquarters when we close down Grove Street,
Yes.
take over the Gateway Park, all the inside of the Armory. And we have about usually 90 plus providers for veterans. And it's everything from the VA, various healthcare, financial, legal, educational. There's a career fair aspect of it.
Somebody from the DMV comes.
Yeah, yep.
Every
yeah.
resource really is available in Central Mass.
Yeah, you mentioned the VA. Do you reach out to vets to help them with the VA? Because sometimes it can be a problem.
To navigate the system, we sure do.
Oh,
Yes.
God, ever.
We sure do.
I know that supposedly now you can go to a doctor outside of the VA, but it's not that simple.
No, you have to get prior authorization. It
Yeah.
takes a little bit to get there, but they've opened it up a little bit and allowed you to not have to take those trips. Like for me, living in Worcester,
Yeah.
I'd get appointments and have to go all the way to Jamaica Plain to the appointment. It's like
Yeah,
the second
yeah.
largest city in New England. Build a VA hospital here.
I know, I mean.
Why don't we have
and
anything?
going to Jamaica Plain is not an easy trip.
No, exactly. So it
Traffic's
changes sometimes.
terrible.
You got to go up to Bedford. You have to go into all these areas where, as a citizen of Worcester, you're thinking second largest city, we should have a VA hospital. It's a no-brainer.
Which is
Starting
Yeah.
to help. We're starting to get something at UMass. Is building something in the
Yep.
next couple years.
That's going to be
Oh,
changing.
that-
They'll have like
that's great
four
news.
four
Yeah.
floors, I think, of
Mm,
veteran.
Veteran services.
over there. Yeah.
It's not going to be a VA hospital, but it'll be work with the VA.
The VA clinic is basically going to expand and offer more services, so you don't have to take those trips deep.
Yeah. I know,
That's
well,
big
a
news.
lot of people from town here, I talk to guys that like to go to Providence.
Oh wow, yeah.
They seem to like that place. They said the service in Providence is better than what they get in Worcester, in Boston, in Jamaica Plain.
Oh wow.
And there again, you go, I think you have to pay for parking too at Jamaica Plain, don't you?
Well, you don't pay for parking, but you do because you're not going to find a free parking spot.
That's what I mean.
Because they have the free parking, but you get in there and
But
every
it's always
spot
full.
is jam packed. So now you're
Yeah.
parking in Boston streets, and then if anybody's been to Boston, parking on a Boston street is like a game of risk.
Yeah.
You don't know, am I going to get told? Am I too close to the hydrant? What's going to happen
Yeah.
here? So that becomes cumbersome, and that's another roadblock.
You end up in a garage, and that costs as much as a hotel room.
Yeah, exactly. So those
So
are those
it'll-
things that
yeah.
stop veterans from wanting to seek the help,
Yeah.
wanting to go to their appointments, and then that might have led them into our hands. Missed a few appointments, didn't get the service, stopped doing this, kind of got too lonely. That might lead to their addiction, and they can fall into any one of our services
And
because
I
of
know
that.
the VA does a good job, but like any organization, you have people that don't do a good job.
Mhm.
They're in every organization. So if someone goes to the VA and they're not really getting the satisfaction that they need, can you help them with that?
They can definitely call us, and we definitely would help them with their getting through. A lot of times, just navigating and not realizing the benefits that they're entitled to. So we have staff that know all about that, and they will help.
Yeah,
with
that's a key. There are so many things out there that, and you don't know it. How do you know what to do?
that. Call Veterans Inc.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you do a great job in helping people, guide them through the system. Anything government does, it's just it's a typical bureaucracy.
We do get confused. Our name gets confused. Veterans Inc. gets confused with the VA a lot.
Get the
So,
calls. Hey, this is the VA.
so
No.
often.
But what's your question, and maybe we can guide you in the right
I
direction.
have friends that still think I work for the VA, so I try this. So great opportunities like this get us to give us the
Separate.
opportunity to make the
Yes.
clarification.
Yeah, because you have no affiliation with the federal government at all, other than they give you a
Give
little
us
bit of money.
Funding, but we are a
Funding, but
nonprofit.
yeah, totally
We are,
nonprofit,
Veterans Inc.
totally
is a
independent.
nonprofit.
Mhm.
So we are a nonprofit, and as you said, we are always looking for support from our community, so
Yeah, and that's very important.
it is.
And, and especially if you're a veteran that you're doing all right, come back and volunteer some time
Give
and
back.
make a donation.
And corporations are a big, and foundations are just, we could not get by without support like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I know that we're finding younger veterans aren't joining the veteran organizations like they used to.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
And that's that whole disconnection from these are my era veterans, your era veterans didn't go through what we go through. But after you talk to a veteran, you talk to ones, even if your age gap is 30 years, you realize we're not that much different.
Right.
And then you start telling stories and you're like, oh, I still remember, they still do that. Yeah, they still do that. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I thought you guys had it made. It's like, in some regards, I got out in 2013. I'm sure a new soldier comes out right now and tells me some of the liberties that he has that I didn't have. I'm going to be a little bit like, oh, you guys have it made. You guys don't know. It wasn't like that. I'm almost sound like my predecessors. So I think building that bond between the old vets and the young vets to help keep these organizations stronger and build a more tight-knit group in the community, and it'll just overall help the whole entire situation.
Well, we had a situation right in this town after World War II. We had an American Legion post in the village of Whitensville, Jeffrey Vale Post, that was made up of all World War I veterans. The guys from World War II started coming back, and they kind of shunned them. So they formed their own, at the American Legion I belong to here, was formed by the World War II guys that came back. They were smart. After Korea, they reached out to the Korean vets, and then Vietnam, they reached out to guys like me.
Yeah.
And now, ours, we reach out to the new veterans, but here again, a lot of them just aren't interested. And, I said, well, what's in it for me? Well, it's camaraderie. We don't have a bar anymore, but too expensive.
Yeah.
And we do better with the studio.
Yeah,
Well, we're glad to have the studio.
I think they should take advantage more though, because that's how you network. And
Yeah.
especially if say you come out and you're struggling with employment, you don't know that the guy who's in that VFW or whatever organization you go to join, he might be the guy who's looking to hire veterans.
Right.
And you just didn't decide to walk in and have that conversation, and you could have had a great job working with another veteran who understands, sort of your fabric or sort of your background a little bit, and that's how you network, build relationships.
It was, it was the American Legion and the VFW that pushed for the GI Bill.
Yeah.
And back after World War II, and then it had it improved over the years. And always, these came up because veteran organizations went to Congress and said, "Hey, we got this many members," and Congress realized, they react to numbers, and that's what, they got this stuff done. If you don't have these organizations, it's going to be tough. And that's why, if they didn't have you today, there'd be a big gap there.
I think we meet a lot of needs on many levels, and I think because of the time that we've been around for, we've evolved, as I said earlier,
Yeah.
and learn how else can we help? How else can we help? So
Now, you have a lot of guys too that come in that are homeless.
and women,
Yeah.
yeah,
And now you give them a place to
families,
stay,
yeah,
safe place to stay.
Mhm.
There's a lot of homeless shelters can be dangerous places. And you feed them.
and the difference between going to a homeless shelter or coming to veterans in transitional housing, we understand their needs,
Yeah.
and that's a big difference. There are other places to go,
Yeah.
but as we've been saying all night,
You can relate to it. Now,
different.
do you take
Yeah.
families in at all?
We have a women and children's location, and the location where we have, like, the Grove Street, that's
Yeah.
just met.
Right.
So it is.
But you do
separate.
have a facility then where you can take in women, veterans, children. and-
Female veterans and their
Yeah,
children.
first in the country.
Yeah. First
The
in the country.
first.
First in
Yes.
the country.
Wow.
Yep.
I was
Right
gonna
here
say,
in
because,
Worcester.
there's a need there too.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a great need, and as you mentioned before, more women are in these combat MOSs,
Yeah.
so they're starting to experience a lot more of that trauma that you come back with versus the jobs they were experiencing before, where they were in a more, whether it's a clerical setting or working in supply or working as a medic. They're starting to see a little bit more. They're starting to deal with a lot of those issues that the male veterans are dealing with. So when they come back, we want to make sure we can extend that same
Right.
arm we would to the males, because they're going through the same exact things.
Well,
No
in the
difference.
in the war situation today, non-combat MOSs are still seeing combat.
Yeah.
If you're a truck driver, you're in medical.
They see it all. Yeah, I wasn't in
Yeah.
the combat MOS. I was in the support unit. I was
Yeah.
a chemical soldier, but we all seen our fair share of combat.
Yeah, because it's everywhere.
And when you talk about trauma, I think that's what's really important part. Veterans Inc., what we do is, trauma is here. And how do
Yeah.
we help with trauma? It's providing a safe place where people can decompress,
Yeah.
regain hope, gain skill sets, and be connected with a support system.
Yeah.
So from the minute they walk in, they know no one's gonna give up on them.
Right.
Even if they slip, we're gonna bring you back in. And then the continuum starts, and we push it all the way up through. And if they slip, we come back and we start all over again.
Yep.
When no man left behind. We're gonna keep working with you.
Well
Yeah,
said.
yeah. That's right for it. No one left
No
behind.
one
Well
left
said.
behind.
Not one. And we actually got this newer program. I guess it's a program, a new grant, housing retention specialist. So basically, what happens? You do all this lovely work, you get a guy in an apartment, and then what? So these housing retention are people that will follow up for them for up to 6 months. Make sure they're ingrained in whatever community they just moved in. They know where the stores are. They know where Walmart is, how to get to the bank, how to use public transportation. And make sure that they build those skills that are going to allow them to live independently. Because when you're in the program, especially some of our programs where we do a lot of the cooking, it's like the military. You know what time chow is? You come down, you eat.
Right.
There's linen for you.
Yeah.
We're paying the light bill. We're stocking the toilet paper. When you get out and get your own apartment, you have to buy those things, down to the
Yes.
toilet cleaner, the
Right.
toothpaste, all the
Yeah.
little things that can seem cumbersome or make them feel like they're just overwhelmed a little bit. Those housing retention specialists will be able to kind of fit that need and kind of calm it and ease the transition into living independently.
Yeah, you can get someone off their addiction, but you got to keep them off.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you just spent a month, you're doing the right thing, you're
Yeah.
feeling good, go back and be homeless,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah,
The same thing that brought them there.
exactly.
There is something that we do offer at Grove Street, the third Thursday of every month, speaking about being in your home and having to, the expenses and things, is our food pantry.
Yeah, it happened today. It was
Yep,
food
we had a
bank.
food pantry today, and that's,
This just started?
no,
Oh,
we've been
before
doing
we
this
started.
for
Oh,
Years and
okay.
years.
years, yeah.
It used to be twice a month. Now it's once a month. It's a large undertaking, but we have a lot of veterans that came in our doors today.
Yeah,
How do you
lots.
qualify them? They have to, yeah, you don't just hand it to anybody.
Nope, they have to show proof that they're a veteran. I don't know the.
There's income guidelines,
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
course.
how do you,
Some of them are closely resemble what income guidelines would be for like SNAP benefits or things of that nature. Well, actually, if you're already receiving SNAP benefits, you're automatically going to qualify for our food
Oh, okay.
pantry. But we verify your veteran status through a DD 214 and ensure that you're a veteran and it's something that you're needed. But if what you don't know is when we open our doors, we put coffee out, pastries. It's really a spot for these veterans to reconnect with each other. They look
Right.
forward to coming to meet and see Frank and Tom
Yep.
and Jill,
Yeah.
and they want to say hello and talk. And they come sometimes hours before it opens. It opens at 10, and we got veterans lined up or sitting in the tables drinking coffee at 8 o'clock.
Yep.
And they find it as a good way for them to kind of build a little sense of community within themselves.
yeah, I see. The reason I ask that is because if someone's out there watching,
Yeah.
they know what they gotta do to,
Come down, sign up. We'll get you signed up. And then we'll give you the schedule, and you're more than welcome to show up every time after that. And we do emergency food as well. So if it's not close to the end of the month and you still need something and you ran low in your house, you come in if you're part of our food bank, we'll make you an emergency bag and kind of sustain you for the next week or so.
if you're just a veteran and you just wanna have some camaraderie, you can come down and hang out, right?
It's not necessarily that case. We invite people who have the time to come either volunteer with us.
Yeah,
But since we have these programs where these guys are living, there's certain, guidelines and rules that we want to kind of
Uh-huh.
create. So we try to invite that type of hang out and talk at our events. When we do our pancake
Yeah.
breakfast, when we have our stand downs. Don't just
Holiday
come for the
harvest.
services, but
Yeah.
come to kind of get to know the veterans in your community and how you can kind of
Yeah.
get together. And maybe you end up going out after that. And maybe Veterans Inc. is going to give you that safe space to kind of realize who you are, be yourself, and meet some other veterans.
Oh.
But if there is a veteran that's in the situation where, like you're referring to, that really needs to connect with somebody, they can just come to our Grove Street headquarters, go right to the front desk, talk to the command post, and they can kind of get them going, find out really what else might they need. Maybe they need to talk to someone else there. So I don't want anyone to feel like they can't come and
right, right.
get some.
Yeah, we're open
Connection.
365 days a year, 24-hour facility, 24/7.
And you can bring your service pet.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody had their husky there
Yeah,
yesterday.
we welcome
We
the
were on
service
the way
pets.
to our meeting, and our meeting got a
I know
little
it's supposed to
delayed
be
because
dogs,
everybody
but
had to
there's
pet
other,
the.
they use other pets now, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a cat man, so if you bring your cat, it's cool.
Yeah. So, yes, you have a service cat?
No,
or-
I don't. I don't think that'll go well in the home. But
Cat has a service human.
yeah, exactly. I have to service my cat basically. She runs my life.
Well, I got a friend who has a Chihuahua because he's diabetic, and the Chihuahua
Oh, yeah.
can tell him if his sugar is high or low.
Oh, that's
I've
amazing.
heard that.
Dogs
yeah.
are smart.
Isn't that amazing?
Dogs are really
I've
smart.
heard the ones that can also predict before seizures.
I got to wrap it up.
I
Oh
had,
wow,
one-
sorry.
I had one in my group once with a seizure.
Really?
Yep, when he could sense a seizure coming on, he'd push him to the floor and lay on him.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, thank you for watching, and thank you for coming in.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you so much
And
for having
look
us
at-
again.
Veterans Inc. Go online, make a donation, or just drop an envelope to Grove Street. What number?
69.
69
Grove Street.
69 Grove Street, Worcester, Mass.
605.
605.
You got it.
All right, stop in and say hello and volunteer.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah.
We would
Sponsor
be more than welcome to
events.
have you.
And if you're struggling, go on the site, you can always put an application, we'll work with you.
Yeah, they
Yes,
have,
yeah. If you know
I-
anyone who needs help,
I should say, Independence Hall, which is the
Independence Hall.
program of
Yes.
Veterans Inc., has recoverindependence.org.
yes, if they need help. Okay, we'll see you next week.
That was
There you
very
go.